Alright, doing a video from the tub, yes. Pre-soaking. Here it's a good time for, talking. I don't know, I'll try it anyway. It's kind of lame, but whatever. Long day. Anyway, gotta soak my beat body. But anyway, so Professor Antoni did he's made a couple of videos since, but he made one on language, and it's just so irritating. Because he turns even language into some kind of religion. It's the religion of, like it has something more to it than something, like it's not a natural process. That organisms don't engage in it. That somehow it's a bestowment, He's disconnected it from nature and evolution and from its practical purpose, which is to allow organisms to communicate ideas to each other, or intentions even. Cats involved, they get into a great deal of communication. They yowl and scream, and all those noises have meaning. Okay, it may not be a word, but it has a meaning to the others, and they're declaring either their territory or their defiance or whatever they're saying. But anyway, then there's tons and tons of organisms that communicate emotions, which are communicate in the sense that at least they write a sign, a warning. They use language to convey at least that much. And so we've taken it a step further, and now we conceptualize the world. We do it without language. Without language, we'd identify an ant, and we'd say something in our head, bug, ant, thing, George, whatever we'd call them, but we would have a conception in our head, and all language allows you to do is to have common words or common utterances, vocabulary, that allow you to convey those concepts. And so that's all there is to it. It's not more complicated than that. That's what all the words are, is basically definitions of things, or conceptions, concepts, an it, they, all of it, an action, a reaction. I mean, all words are describing something that is as a physical reality, or something that is as a practical reality, a relationship, a way of being, an essence. And that's all it is. And so what we hope to what was hoped to accomplish through language is that people would have common definitions of these things, and they would use they'd have a common word or a common utterance that defines, that has the same mental reaction, that we would each react to the sound with a similar sequence of brain reflexes. And again, I'm going to argue that our brain is just reflexes. You say a word, my brain reflexively reacts. I see an image, my brain reflexively reacts. It combines and it associates, and through a hierarchy system, it establishes my dominant personality, or what my primary first impressions are, and second impressions, and more thoughtful, how I can even think about something. If I say the word, and what my brain will react with, it'll first regurgitate something, that's the loudest, that's the dominant, that's won the hierarchy, the Google search result. But I can dig deeper if I choose to, and I can find different associations, and different concepts will be tied to each other. And language doesn't do anything more than help us tie those things, help us convey them to each other. That's all. It doesn't even do I suppose because it structures things, because we are allowed to name things now. Once we can do the vocabulary thing, and we can, our brain can recognize more than 5 things or 7 things, then we can store a whole bunch of information. We can have a whole bunch of words and a complex vocabulary that allows us to create, in essence, new conceptions and new words new sentences, new descriptors, and they'll even stick in our heads for our whole lives, like, penny earned is a penny saved. Yeah, well, it's more than one word, but it's almost one word in my brain. It's a quote. It's thrown in this category of here's a concept. And it's a long, multi-syllable word now, but my brain, that's what it is. It's identified as a concept. So, so we'll see if I got any other thoughts when I'm in the end phase of, this, part of my day. Anyway, until next time. Well, till later maybe.
Alright, so back again. Summing up, sort of, maybe, kind of, I don't know. A story just ran through my head of, when I used to have a dog when I was a kid, and I was thinking about what he knew and what he understood as concepts. And clearly, what he didn't understand was that he wasn't as big as some other dogs. I mean, because he would get into fights with dogs that were 3 or 4 times his size. And he just seemed to not have any real concept of the physics involved. Maybe if it was an elephant and it was stomping, maybe that would be enough to intimidate him, but he just wasn't really intimidated by size. And I'm sure he would have stories, there was one time he got, a dog actually picked him up by the back and threw him in the air, and he went, 10 feet high. He was way up there. And he came down and, $500 worth of bet bills and the rest of it. But, he was all pleased with himself. And I'm thinking that maybe his story was that, it was really cool. I gained superpowers and I jumped way up in the air. And, he won't really know the truth of the matter because he doesn't have enough education. He hasn't been informed about the reality of different concepts. But the roots of understanding are there. The roots of capacity are there. It's just that they, other animals can't do what we do in terms of this kind of abstract language identification thing. It has to do with somehow whatever's been altered in our brain, unlike other mammals, that, we're really devoting a lot of space to this vocabulary thing. Or maybe it's not even vocabulary, but just the idea of how we're processing memories. But regardless, the point is that we can store many more concepts. And the point is also, let's remember that we got the brain that enabled us to do that before we had a big vocabulary. We got it when we were still doing bone spears and stuff. And it took, thousands of years for us to acquire knowledge and to become literate and become able to form these complex sentences and do all of this complex talking about concepts. But the roots were in the animal, and we're just, like I said, it probably was a very unique circumstance. It probably doesn't happen very often that an organism is given such potential that he doesn't really use. And we were giving huge potential that we don't use. But that's sort of the point of evolution, is that it doesn't have any, there's very little evolutionary advantage in giving organisms the capacity to make nuclear bombs, high intelligence, and, to appreciate poetry or even appreciate the cost effectiveness of suffering itself. These are not things that will do you any good in a biological dog-eat-dog, so to speak, race. But vocabulary is just a way of identifying, labeling concepts and making them transferable. And you want to turn into a whole, I don't even know what you want to call it. It's not a religion, but obviously you're converting it into some kind of magic power, and it's just a reflexive brain. It's just word association, concept association. And once you've labeled things, then you can use them much more effectively if you have a label. Because you don't have to keep saying, well, that thing there, the blue thing, the blue round thing, the blue, you don't have to go through a whole bunch of gibberish to get to the point, that you're just saying blue marble or whatever. Because we know what the concept, we know the concept of blue, we know the concept of marble. So, whatever, just, it's just more ways to sit there and try to put fancy dressing on this thing called life, and especially human life, like we're doing something so fucking spectacular. No, we're not. No, we're not. It's just, we're not. We're just a biological infestation like the rest of it. Designed for a kind of crude and stupid mission. And yeah, we can step above it, but we should do it honestly, not dishonestly. If we're going to find elegance, we have to find it with the truth, not without the truth. So, anyway, especially not shitting on the truth, which I think the professor is doing. He's deliberately and willfully distorting reality, because reality is just not pretty enough.